I'll just talk about this one. When I was young, I used to have a little dream, really a big dream that's been with me for a long time, which was, I used to think I was like King Solomon, right? And I used to think that I'll have like many partners, co-creators, or maybe wives around the world, and we have a lot of resources and things like that. But I don't know if this is just like my inner being or maybe just the you, which part of it is. Like for me, I feel like I've been like in a relationship for maybe for like 10 years, and everything I've asked for, I received. When I was 21, I asked for a relationship because I didn't have one, and I needed that experience to grow. And I feel like the relationship had helped me understand everything that I did not like while understanding everything that I do like.
That's a good relationship, isn't it? That's a clarifying relationship. That's the way you intended life to be. You didn't say, I want to go forth and have everything exactly as I think I want it to be in every moment. You said, I would like to perceive it from where I stand moment by moment, evaluate from my perspective, my powerful and important perspective, what I like and what I prefer. Then I intend to give my attention to what I prefer so that I hold that vibration, and law of attraction can get hold of it and make it a dominant vibration so that my attraction power and therefore my attractiveness and therefore my influence is mighty, and this is how I will proceed through life. It's exactly what you said.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely correct about that. And another thing I got going on, I feel like every moment of my life is joy, right? But like I have just figured out that maybe within a relationship, since it's so much, a lot of resistance, but truth as well. But I feel like I kind of haven't been getting a lot of like maybe the love that I would prefer to get, maybe because I haven't been appreciating my mate more and thinking more about me wanting more in abundance, or feeling like the relationship was more of a parent relationship.
It could be. But here's an important thing that we want to say about that. Remember that you are the attractor of what you get based upon what you give your attention to. And so it feels like in a relationship that there's another person who is responsible for how you feel. That is not the way it is. You are the only person who's responsible for the way you feel. But what you described is something that almost everybody is living. It's a very conditional love. And it's because, and of course it's because, here you are in your manifested bodies, seeing and hearing and smelling and tasting and touching, and you make a big deal about the manifestation as it is so far. And you make evaluations and judgments about what it is so far, not really realizing that at the same time that you are noticing all of that, you are creating a new and improved relationship. But most of you never let yourself move on, even with the same person, to the new and improved relationship, because you're fixated on the stuff that gave birth to the new and improved relationship. And then the new improved relationship keeps getting newer and improvedder more and more and more and more and more, which means the gap between what you've created and what you're allowing gets greater and greater and greater, which makes you really ornery and makes you want to push against this person and say, if you would be more like what I've created, then I would be happy. If you're just different, you'd be perfect. But what's really going on is you have created something that you are not allowing yourself to move toward, and you're blaming the other person for your lack of movement. And when you get that, when you get it, that your satisfaction is not dependent upon the conditions of any other, your satisfaction is only dependent upon you moving in the direction of your desire. And when you are consistently moving in the direction of your desire, one way or another, you'll have the manifestation that you want. Maybe someone moves out of your life. Doesn't have to happen that way. Often doesn't happen that way. You just begin to receive more and more and more of what you want. You know what's really interesting about this? The less you need the condition to change in order for you to feel good, the more the conditions change, because you're not fixated on not changing conditions. It's like the more pleased you are with someone, the more pleased you are because you've decided to be satisfied, then the more pleased you are in general with what you focus on. And the more pleased you are, the more pleasing things you get, because that's how the law works. But oh, so many people, you need to change because you made me want something and you're not giving it to me. You need to be more like I want you to be. You need to be like the dream I've dreamed. You need to be like the dream you've dreamed. You need to be like the dream you've dreamed.
Yes.
And everybody else will catch up.
Yes. Yes. And I also have noticed, I have learned from you, because about not talking about things you do not want. And sometimes
Say more.
Do not talk about things you do not want or things you do not like.
And also, don't talk about the absence of things that you do want, which is sort of the same thing. There's wanted and absence of it. That's all. That's all there is. There's wanted and absence of it. And so if you're talking about the absence of something you want, you're not satisfied, first of all. You're not in the receiving mode of this, but you could be in the receiving mode of something else. You can get plenty. We say you get what you think about, want it or not, because you're always in the receiving mode of something.
Yes. All right, lastly, before I go, because I never heard you talk about polygamy. I want to know what's your take on that versus monogamy. I just never heard you talk about it.
We're happy to talk about it. So let's start with the flawed premise that so many humans have. Humans have this flawed premise that goes like this: there's a right and a wrong way to live, and we need to all get together and figure out what that is, and then we all need to do the same thing. That's a big flawed premise. Instead, what you intended was to come into this environment, make choices based upon your personal experiences, give birth to desires, line up with desires, and manifest desires. So here's what usually goes wrong with, rather than talk about polygamy, we're happy to talk about that, and we will, but first we want to talk about a monogamous relationship and a not monogamous relationship. In other words, a relationship with many partners. So here's what usually happens with most people. Let's say she wants monogamy, could go either way, and he wants many partners. So they have a disagreement, and both of them, if they're like most humans, want the other one to agree and to conform. So this one is pushing against what that one thinks, and therefore not in alignment with desire, and this one is pushing against what that one thinks, and therefore not in alignment with desire. So neither one of them are getting what they want, and they're both blaming the other one. And then they want to appeal to a higher court for support of what their desire is, when there is no higher court. That's the thing. There is not someone or some being or some entity who has decided that this is always good and this is always bad. This is something that humans have made up to try to fight better battles with each other, or to feel more victorious in the battles that they fight. So let's say that this person wants monogamy and has, for whatever reason, maybe through life experience, has witnessed things that made her uncomfortable with it the other way, and so she was very clear about what she wanted, and she along the way figured out how to find satisfying thoughts and be in the receiving mode. So she wasn't like most women, worried about what her man was doing all the time. Instead, she was in alignment with what she wanted. She found satisfaction and joy in those thoughts. Her vibration is pure about that, and law of attraction is responding to her pure vibration with someone who's in agreement with that, and they live happily ever after with no contest on that subject, because she was in alignment. The law of attraction brought her someone in agreement, and they lived happily ever after. Or someone who wants a variety of relationships, always has wanted a variety of relationships, felt bound in a relationship, watched something happen with somebody else, that's what they put into their vortex, wanted the variety of more relationships, wasn't defensive about it, wasn't justifying it, wasn't trying to prove it to someone else, wasn't trying to get the laws changed, wasn't trying to get the whole world to agree, just held steady. This is my desire. And thinking about that desire, felt satisfaction about that desire. So law of attraction brings someone to that person who's in agreement with that. That person doesn't bring somebody into the experience who doesn't agree with that. You see what we're getting at? This place is big. This creative environment is enormous. This environment has the wherewithal to satisfy everyone about everything. You just got to stop trying to get other people to want it the way you want it, and you've got to stop contradicting your own desire. And when you do, what you want will flow to you. But you've got to get your nose out of everybody else's business, and you've got to stop caring about what they think about your business.
Okay.
Because
Yes. Now, what is your definition of love?
love is a word that humans use when the vibrational frequency is complete alignment with source. Love is a word that humans use. It's the word most often used when the vibration is saying something different. Don't you know I love you? There's no love going on then.
So love is a union of opposites, basically, right?
Say again.
Love is a union of opposites.
Love is alignment with source. Now, when you are in alignment with source and you hold someone as your object of attention, you could say, the love that I am flowing toward you. The love that my inner being is flowing toward me, I am receiving. And the love that my inner being is flowing toward me, I am flowing toward you. But your receiving of it is up to you. I can't love you enough to make you get it. And that's what source would say to you too. We can't love you enough for you to know our love. You got to get in the vicinity. You got to let yourself receive it. You've got to let it demonstrate. When you get tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you have an impulse, and that impulse blesses you in all the ways that it will, after a while you start feeling that worthy feeling of love, where you know that you are loved unequivocally. Most people are looking for love in all the wrong places. They're looking at it through humans who don't have it to give. This love, or this alignment, or this receiving mode, we will call them all equal, is not like a college degree where once you get it, it's yours forevermore. It either is or it isn't in the moment, depending upon what frequency you got going on. And if you're in the vibrational attitude of pushing against something, you're not in the vibrational attitude of love. Plenty of humans use the word love when they're nowhere near the frequency of it. So we use the word vibrational equivalency. Esther wants to watch a movie and she wants it to be vibrationally accurate. She doesn't want some sweet young thing who's in love with life to get out there and get clobbered by someone. It's not vibrationally accurate. She wants the words that people speak to be vibrational alignment with who they are. She was in the airport yesterday listening to some people behind her. She couldn't see them. And they were talking. It was three women talking about a wedding, and they were using very sweet voices and very sweet words, and it was just really rubbing Esther the wrong way. And Esther thought, what's wrong with me? These are lovely women, and they are talking about something that is lovely. And then she thought, they don't mean it. And then two of them sat behind her on the airplane. And then she heard the rest of their conversation. And then she knew for sure they didn't mean it. So Esther could feel the vibrational discord. The words didn't match the music. That's why we're encouraging you to pay attention, to get into the receiving mode, to know when you are and know when you're not, period.
Okay, now I know there's a lot of healers out here, right? A lot of healers and teachers. So what helps, like I'm a healer and teacher myself. So what helps us to be the best versions of that we can possibly be?
So let's say someone is standing before you and they are in need of some counsel or some help, and you've prepared yourself before they got there. So you've meditated and you're satisfied and you feel the love of source. You're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And when you see them, you don't let their fear over their current condition interfere with what you know. That's how Jesus healed. His knowledge of their wellness was so dominant that their illness could not abide in his vibration. Then he said, go forth and tell no one. Because he knew if they went home and talked about it, they'd get talked right back into wherever they were before. It's about being so stable in your belief of this person's ability to be well that there's no equivocation in your vibration. There's no fluctuation in your vibration. There's no doubt in you. Even if there's a lot of doubt in them, there's no doubt in you. Most people don't practice that alignment. They let conditions control their vibrational response. You got to believe in wholeness. You got to believe in this source love, and you can't believe it because somebody else believes it and they're spewing at you, even if they get up really close and really loud and shout it at you. You got to tune yourself in. You got to quiet your mind. You got to let your resistance go. You got to let your vibration rise, and you've got to feel the power of that connection. And when you do that and you do it consistently enough, then nothing can take it from you eventually.